You meet her. The chemistry is undeniable. The connection feels real. You think, this is different. She's different. And maybe for a few months, even a year, it is different. But then something starts to shift, slowly, almost imperceptibly. You're not quite yourself anymore. Your friends notice it first. Your focus isn't as sharp. Your ambition isn't as fierce. Your edge is dulling. And you tell yourself it's maturity, growth, the natural evolution of becoming a man in a relationship. But Friedrich Nietzsche would tell you something darker. You're not evolving. You're being destroyed. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Nietzsche believed most relationships systematically destroy male vitality, the specific mechanisms by which modern relationships drain men of the very qualities that made them attractive, and why the man who emerges from a long-term relationship is almost always weaker than the man who entered it. But I need to warn you about something before we continue. What I'm about to reveal will change how you see every relationship around you. Once you understand the pattern Nietzsche identified, you'll see it everywhere, in your friends, in your colleagues, in yourself if you're honest. And that awareness will force you to make choices most men are too afraid to make. But before we expose how relationships destroy men, you need to understand what Nietzsche meant by destruction. Because he wasn't talking about heartbreak or betrayal. He was talking about something far more insidious. And to understand that, we first need to look at what he called the will to power and why relationships are its natural enemy. Nietzsche believed that man's fundamental drive is the will to power. Not power over others necessarily, but power over yourself. The drive to overcome obstacles, to master challenges, to become stronger, more capable, more realized. This will to power is what creates great men, artists, builders, leaders, thinkers, men who shape reality rather than being shaped by it. But relationships, especially modern relationships, require the opposite. They require you to become manageable, predictable, domesticated. They require you to trade your will to power for what Nietzsche called the last man, someone who seeks only comfort, approval, and the path of least resistance. Think about what actually happens when you enter a relationship. Not the fantasy version, the reality. You start making compromises, small ones at first. You skip the gym to spend time with her. You decline opportunities that would require you to be less available. You soften your goals to make them compatible with her needs. You filter your thoughts to avoid conflict. You moderate your ambitions to maintain relationship harmony. And each compromise seems reasonable in isolation. She's not demanding you stop working out entirely, just asking you to skip today because she planned something. She's not telling you to abandon your business idea, just expressing concern about the risk. She's not forbidding you from pursuing your goals, just making it clear that pursuing them causes her stress. But these small compromises accumulate, and what you don't realize until it's too late is that you've been trading pieces of yourself for relationship stability. You've been sacrificing the very qualities that made you attractive to her in the first place. Your drive, your independence, your edge, your ability to prioritize your mission over her moods. Nietzsche saw this pattern clearly. He watched men enter relationships as lions and emerge as house cats, not because women are evil or manipulative, but because the structure of relationships itself is designed to domesticate male power, to make you safe, stable, and dependent rather than dangerous, ambitious, and sovereign. And here's the darkest part. By the time you realize what's happened, by the time you notice that you're a shadow of who you were, it feels too late to change course. You've invested years. You've built a life together. You've adapted to her expectations so completely that your authentic self feels like a distant memory. This is the destruction Nietzsche warned about. Not sudden, not obvious, just the slow erosion of everything that made you powerful. And it's happening to millions of men right now. Let's be specific about how relationships destroy men. Nietzsche identified patterns that play out across time and culture. 4 mechanisms by which the male spirit is systematically weakened, and all 4 are operating in your relationships right now, whether you see them or not. Mechanism 1. The domestication of ambition. When you're single, your ambition is pure. You want to build something, achieve something, become something for its own sake. Your goals exist independently of anyone else's approval or comfort. But relationships introduce a foreign element into this equation, her feelings about your ambition. And suddenly, your ambition isn't just about what you want to achieve. It's about how your achieving affects her, how your work schedule impacts the relationship, how your risk-taking creates insecurity for her, how your success might make her feel inadequate. The ambitious man is told he's prioritizing work over the relationship, that he's not present, that his drive is actually selfishness in disguise. And slowly, imperceptibly, he starts to internalize this. He begins to see his own ambition as a problem to be managed rather than a force to be unleashed. Nietzsche called this slave morality, the reframing of strength as weakness, of power as moral failing. And relationships are its perfect delivery mechanism, because the reframing comes wrapped in love. She's not trying to destroy your ambition, she just wants you to balance it with her needs, which sounds reasonable until you realize that balance always means sacrificing your goals when they conflict with her comfort. The result? Ambitious men become moderate men. Driven men become stable men. Men who were building empires start maintaining households, and they tell themselves this is maturity, when it's actually the death of what made them exceptional. Mechanism 2. The erosion of sovereignty. Before the relationship, you made decisions unilaterally. Where to live, how to spend your time, what risks to take, what standards to maintain. Your life was yours to direct. But relationships introduce mandatory negotiation. Now every decision must consider her input, her feelings, her preferences. You can't move cities for a better opportunity without her approval. You can't take financial risks without her comfort level. You can't maintain certain standards without her agreement. And this seems like partnership until you realize it's actually a slow transfer of decision-making power. Because in most relationships, her emotional comfort becomes the limiting factor on what you're allowed to do. You can pursue anything as long as it doesn't make her anxious, insecure, or upset. This creates what Nietzsche called reactive rather than active living. Instead of creating your life according to your vision, you're reacting to her emotional states. Instead of leading with clarity, you're constantly calibrating to maintain her approval. Instead of being the author of your existence, you're the editor, cutting out anything that disturbs her peace. The sovereign man becomes the managed man. And managed men can never be great because greatness requires the freedom to act decisively without committee approval from people who don't share your vision. Mechanism 3. The weaponization of emotional labor. Here's where it gets truly insidious. Modern relationships have redefined normal male emotional processing as insufficient emotional labor. You're told that being stoic is being unavailable, that processing internally is being closed off, that not needing constant emotional validation is being disconnected. So you're trained to do more emotional labor, to share more feelings, to process more openly, to need her validation for your emotional state. And this sounds like depth until you realize what's actually happening. You're being made emotionally dependent. The man who processes emotions internally is strong because his emotional state isn't hostage to external validation. But the man who's been trained to externalize everything, to process through constant discussion, to need her input on how he should feel, this man has had his emotional sovereignty destroyed. And once you're emotionally dependent, once you need her validation to feel okay, you've given her complete control. Because now she can manipulate your emotional state by withholding or providing validation strategically. You've voluntarily installed a remote control for your internal state and handed it to someone else. Nietzsche would call this the ultimate weakness. needing others to tell you how to feel about yourself. Mechanism 4. The collapse of male friendships. Watch what happens to male friendships when men enter serious relationships. They atrophy, not because the man wants them to, but because maintaining them creates relationship friction. She needs more time with you. Your friends are immature or a bad influence. Boys' nights become sources of anxiety for her. Your male friendships are slowly reframed as threats to the relationship rather than necessary components of male well-being. And male friendships are where honesty lives. Your friends will tell you when you're changing negatively, when you're compromising too much, when you're losing yourself. But if you've been isolated from those friendships, you lose that feedback loop. You lose the mirror that shows you who you're becoming. This isolation is perhaps the most devastating mechanism because it removes the early warning system that might have saved you. Let's do an honest inventory. Compare the man you were when you entered your last relationship to the man you became by the end of it. The man you were: sharp, ambitious, had clear goals and pursued them relentlessly, made decisions quickly without second guessing, had strong friendships with other men, worked out consistently, had hobbies and interests you pursued passionately, took risks without asking permission, lived according to your own standards, felt powerful, capable, dangerous in the best way. The man you became: softer, moderate. Goals became negotiable or postponed indefinitely. Second-guessed every decision through her lens. Lost touch with male friends. Fitness routine became sporadic. Hobbies were abandoned as immature or time-wasting. Risk-averse, always calculating how she'd react. Lived according to standards designed to maintain her comfort. Felt managed, contained, safe but neutered. This transformation isn't unique to you. It's the standard pattern. And here's what Nietzsche understood that most men don't. This isn't evolution. It's devolution. You didn't become more mature. You became more manageable. You didn't grow. You shrank. But before we explore why this pattern is so universal, you need to understand something about what women are actually selecting for versus what they say they want. Because this disconnect is where the destruction begins. Women are attracted to the qualities that make men powerful: drive, ambition, independence, strength, edge, the ability to be dangerous when necessary. These traits signal high value. They generate attraction. They make you compelling. But once you're in a relationship, once commitment is secured, those same traits become threats. Your drive means you might prioritize work over her. Your independence means you don't need her as much as she needs you. Your strength means you might not be controllable. Your edge means you're not completely safe. So she begins, unconsciously or consciously, to sand down those edges, to domesticate the traits that attracted her, to make you safer, more manageable, more dependent on her approval. And you comply because you think this is what she wants. You think making her comfortable is the same as making her happy. But here's the cruel paradox Nietzsche identified. The more you accommodate her desire for safety, the less she's attracted to you. The more you soften your edges to make her comfortable, the less she respects you. The more you sacrifice your power to maintain the relationship, the less she values the relationship. You become the thing she said she wanted: stable, available, emotionally open, and her attraction evaporates. Because what she said she wanted and what her biology actually responds to are completely different. She wants the powerful man made safe just for her. But making yourself safe for her means destroying what made you powerful. And once the power is gone, so is the attraction. This is the trap that destroys men. You sacrifice your power to keep her, and losing your power is exactly what makes her leave. You can't win by becoming what she says she wants, because what she says she wants would bore her if you actually became it. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He understood that female desire is fundamentally paradoxical, that women want contradictory things simultaneously, and the man who tries to satisfy those contradictions ends up destroying himself in the attempt. The powerful man stays powerful by refusing to be domesticated, by maintaining his edge even when it creates discomfort, by prioritizing his mission even when it generates her insecurity, by remaining slightly dangerous, slightly unpredictable, slightly beyond her complete control. This doesn't mean being cruel or absent. It means refusing to sacrifice the qualities that made you attractive in a futile attempt to make her comfortable. Because the comfortable woman is the unattracted woman, and the domesticated man is the discarded man. Here's what nobody tells you about relationship destruction. Most men never fully recover. Even after the relationship ends, even after they're theoretically free, they remain shadows of who they were before. Because the destruction wasn't just behavioral, it was psychological. You didn't just change your actions to accommodate her. You changed how you think about yourself. You internalized her judgment of your ambitions, your friends, your goals, your edge. And that internal change persists long after she's gone. The man who emerges from a destructive relationship carries her voice in his head, critiquing his choices, questioning his priorities, moderating his ambitions. He's alone, but he's still being controlled by the framework she installed. This is what Nietzsche meant when he talked about the genealogy of morals. The way external judgments become internalized until you police yourself according to someone else's standards. You don't need her there to domesticate you anymore. You've been trained to domesticate yourself. Watch men after long relationships end. How many immediately throw themselves back into their mission? How many reconnect with male friends and rebuild the lives they had before? How many reclaim their edge, their ambition, their power? Almost none. Most sit in the rubble of who they became, unable to remember how to be who they were. The gym routine they abandoned, they can't seem to restart it. The business idea they shelved, it no longer feels possible. The standards they lowered, they don't have the energy to raise them again. Because rebuilding yourself requires energy, and the relationship drained your energy for years. You've been running a deficit so long that you're operating on fumes. The vitality, the drive, the life force that powered your ambitions, it's gone, depleted. And recovering it takes time most men don't have the patience for. So they settle into the diminished version of themselves. They accept that they're not who they used to be. They rationalize that they've matured, evolved, become more balanced, when the truth is they've just been broken and lack the strength to rebuild. This is why Nietzsche warned against relationships for men of ambition, not because love is wrong or companionship is bad, but because the cost of modern relationships is catastrophically high for men with potential. You trade your power for companionship, your edge for comfort, your mission for her approval, and what you get in return rarely justifies what you gave up. The men who protect themselves. But some men do recover. Some men emerge from relationships and rebuild themselves stronger than before. What's different about them? They recognize the destruction early. They see the pattern before it's complete. They notice themselves changing and refuse to continue. They choose their mission over her comfort. They maintain their friendships despite her complaints. They keep lifting despite her schedule. They preserve their edge despite her desire for safety. And often the relationship ends because she can't tolerate being with a man she can't fully domesticate. But that's information, not tragedy. Because a woman who needs to destroy your power to feel comfortable isn't a woman worth keeping. The men who stay powerful through relationships, and they're rare, are the ones who understand something fundamental. Her attraction depends on your power, and maintaining your power requires prioritizing it above her temporary comfort. The moment you sacrifice your power to keep her, you've guaranteed losing both your power and her attraction. Nietzsche would say, be the kind of man who makes relationships optional, not necessary, who has enough mission, purpose, and strength that companionship is enhancement rather than foundation. Because only from that position can you engage with women without being destroyed by them. So what's the answer? How do you engage with relationships without being destroyed by them? Nietzsche didn't advocate for complete isolation. He advocated for something harder, becoming strong enough that relationships can't weaken you, building yourself so thoroughly that no external force, including female desire for your domestication of women, can compromise your core. This requires something most men never develop, an unshakable commitment to your own becoming, to your evolution, your power, your mission. A commitment so strong that maintaining it takes priority over maintaining anyone's comfort, including your own. The Nietzschean framework for relationships. First, mission above all else. Your work, your goals, your evolution, these are non-negotiable. Any relationship that requires you to compromise them is a relationship to exit immediately. Not because you don't care about her, but because you care about yourself more. Second, maintain your edges. The parts of you that are sharp, dangerous, uncompromising, these must be protected. The moment you start softening them for her comfort, you've begun the destruction process. Better to be alone and powerful than partnered and diminished. Third, keep your male friendships sacred. They're your reality check, your reminder of who you are, your defense against isolation. Any woman who asks you to sacrifice them is asking you to make yourself vulnerable to her control. Fourth, never outsource your emotional state. You feel what you feel independent of her validation. You process internally. You maintain your own center. The moment you need her approval to feel okay, you've given her control you can never fully reclaim. Fifth, be willing to walk away at any moment, for any reason. If maintaining the relationship requires sacrificing your power, walk. If staying means continuing to diminish, leave. Your power is more valuable than any relationship because without your power, you have nothing worth offering anyway. This framework isn't about being cruel or unavailable. It's about being undomesticatable, about maintaining the qualities that made you powerful even when doing so creates relationship friction, about choosing yourself when the choice is between your power and her comfort. Most men can't do this. They're too afraid of being alone, too dependent on female validation, too weak to prioritize their mission when it conflicts with relationship harmony. So they sacrifice themselves gradually, telling themselves it's love when it's actually self-destruction. But the men who maintain this framework, who refuse domestication, who stay dangerous even in relationships, these men experience something remarkable. They're more attractive, not less, because they've retained the qualities that generated attraction in the first place. They haven't become safe, manageable house cats. They've remained lions that chose to stay rather than lions that were captured. Nietzsche's final warning was this: most men are destroyed by relationships, not because relationships are inherently destructive, but because most men enter them without the strength to resist domestication. They're already weak, and the relationship just exposes and amplifies that weakness. The strong man, the powerful man, the sovereign man, he can engage with relationships without being destroyed because he's already complete. He doesn't need the relationship, he chooses it. And the moment it requires his destruction, he walks away without hesitation. If you understand this, write in the comments, mission first. Because Nietzsche's warning wasn't about avoiding women, it was about becoming strong enough that nothing, including your desire for companionship, can compromise your power. That's the only protection. That's the only path. Build yourself so thoroughly that destruction becomes impossible.